So you finally defeated the Ender Dragon, and you want to head into the inn to find inn cities for that incredible loot. Here are some tips and tricks for you. So here we are inside of Minecraft in the end, obviously, and I've just defeated the dragon, so I have an egg here and an end gateway. Now, these portals can be a little bit tricky. What you're supposed to do is take an ender pearl and toss it into the middle of that pearl. But there's a better way to do it, which is my first tip, which is you can just pillar up to it or create a stairway up to the end gateway. So we'll do that first. Here we go. We have a little bit of a platform up. And when you get to the gateway, make sure that you place blocks around the bottom of the bedrock. Don't place them like down here where you're kind of staring at the block at head level. Make sure that the block is at foot level, basically. And either you can grab ender pearls and just toss them into the end gateway from this position, which is way easier to do, or you can do something, in my opinion, even better, which is to get a trapdoor and use the crawling effect that is now in Minecraft, and you can crawl through the end gateway with no ender pearls needed. You walk into it, and then bam, you are teleported to the output destination. Remember, whenever you teleport with an end gateway, it will place you on the edge of a block. Like, no matter how, so if up here, oh wow, that is darn convenient. There's a inn city right here. No matter how you try to make this as safe as you can, you will always end up on the edge of a block near this end gateway. So even if you try to make like a 100 by 100 platform for you to easily and safely teleport into, we're gonna set this, by the way, you can do the same thing on the return trip, so we can just walk into here and then bam, we're back. So I've made that that fancier, that nice place to land on. I'm on the edge. See how I'm on the edge? It will, no matter how big you make this platform, it'll always be on the edge. So be aware, don't move once you teleport through the end gateway. So we've gone through the portal and we have found an inn city, and most likely you are looking for an inn city for elytra and shulkers. Those are the two reasons that you'd most likely come to the end. And in order to do that, you need to fight an awful lot of shulkers. So I have some tips for you when fighting these shulkers. And first off is to always make sure that you have food, because they hit for quite a lot every time they hit you, and in the new Minecraft food system, you can regenerate your health much faster as long as you are full on food. And if for some reason, like I've gone through like a stack of pork chops in some of my adventures to the end, if you're out of food, don't forget that chorus fruit is the food that is always available in the end. It doesn't help much. It isn't a great food. The saturation isn't very good, and it doesn't really recover a ton, but it is there, and it can get you back from low health as long as you just keep eating it. Remember that whenever you eat chorus fruit, that you'll be teleported somewhere else. So just keep that in mind, that you're going to be teleported every which direction. Luckily, chorus fruit will always put you in a safe location. So as long as you're not in the middle of sprinting as you eat it, it will place you on a block. It will teleport you to a block. It will not accidentally teleport you into the void or anything like that. But you can use it as your food. The other reason that I suggest chorus fruit whenever fighting shulkers is if you happen to be high up into the air, you've been hit a few times by the levitation effect, and you're about ready to fall, you can always eat chorus fruit, and it will teleport you to the ground before you fall, which is super duper helpful. So remember to eat that chorus fruit. If you're way up in the air, it'll teleport you somewhere to the ground. The other option is to use ender pearls. Ender pearls will cause damage a little bit because of your fall damage, but you can exactly determine where you're going to land. Where sometimes if you're way up in the sky and you've been climbing through this in city and you've got a little bit too much levitation, you're afraid you're going to die, and you eat that chorus fruit, it may teleport you all the way back down here instead of up on top of a roof up there. So go ahead and use a ender pearl in that case if you know that you will survive the ender pearl hit instead of just the chorus fruit hit. Now, the other reason that you would be heading to an end city is to collect some blocks. These purple blocks are pretty darn good looking. Also, these in-stone brick blocks, I love them. But remember that if you don't actually want to hang around here, use up your pick durability, and break down all of these blocks. Uh-oh, this Enderman is mad at me, and I'm not prepared. I am not prepared. If you want any of these blocks, and there are a ton, because remember, you have the pillars, you have the stairs, you have the normal bricks. So there's a lot of different purple blocks, purple blocks that you can get. Please don't forget that you can craft all of these blocks. These are all easily attainable just with chorus fruit. So if you take some chorus fruit, which you can grow in the overworld as long as you bring a little bit of this in-stone back with you, you throw that in a furnace, you will get popped chorus fruit as the result. Popped chorus fruit can be changed back into purple blocks just by putting them in this 4 grid. Purple blocks, in exchange, can be changed into all of the other blocks that you see. So purple pillars are into slabs, and then one slab on top of each other, and you get the pillar, and then obviously the stairs. So you can make all of the various purple blocks, including those guys right here, this light source, the end rod. The end rod can be made with popped chorus fruit on the bottom and a blaze rod on the top, and you get 4 end rods for that crafting recipe, so you can create lots and lots of end rods with just a few blaze rods. My next tip for you is whenever you come across an end city and it has the elytra and you're super excited, don't forget about the shulkers and make sure you clear out every end city you find to be to absolute 0 with shulkers, because you're really going to regret it later on if you had found an end city but you didn't clear it all the way of shulkers and you've forgotten which areas you've gone into and which ones you haven't. So I use a rule of thumb that anytime I find an end city, I am going to make sure to kill every single shulker. That way, if I find it again, say a month or 2 later, I know if I don't see any shulkers, then I've gotten all of them from the area and I've looted everything in the end city. I would suggest don't go halfway when looting your end city. Loot all of it, and specifically the shulkers, because those are not really a renewable resource. You can't breed shulkers, and so if you lose all your shulker boxes, you have to come back to the end to get them. And if you come across an end city that you know the elytra's looted, but you don't know if all the shulkers are looted, and you're looking around trying to find out which ones you did kill, which ones you didn't kill, it can be a real pain in the butt. So make sure that you loot everything. Next, some of these end city rooms will have probably the most valuable thing to bring to the end, which is the ender chest. Your ender chest is super valuable when you're going to the end. Way more so than I would say in the overworld, because everything in your ender chest will transfer to the overworld if you die, which is really, really important, because you can die in the void in the end where none of your items are coming back. It's just like falling in lava and having all your items be destroyed in lava. If you fall into the void, none of your items are coming back. So I would suggest either come to the end with an ender chest already, or the first ender chest you see, make sure you pick up. You do need the Silk Touch enchantment in order to pick up the ender chest, but make sure that you have one in your inventory. And that way, when you're done exploring, when you have explored all of the end and you're super happy with how much loot you have, instead of finding another end gateway to get back, which they will randomly sort of pop up throughout the land, and then you can either ender pearl or use the technique that I mentioned earlier, which is to use the trapdoor to walk through it to get back home, to get back to the center island. If you can't find one of those and you're super worried, there happens to be one right over here. Look at that. If you can't find one of these end gateways, then you can just jump into the void as long as you've placed all of your items into the ender chest. So what I like to do is after I'm done looting, use the shulkers that I've hopefully gathered as well, put all of my inventory into the shulkers, and then throw all that into an ender chest. Then I'll be completely empty of any items, including armor or elytra, and then you just jump into the void and you'll die. And then you'll respawn back at your bed in the overworld, and hopefully you have an ender chest somewhere in the overworld, and you'll be able to have all of the items that you looted from the end. And my final tip for you is a checklist of all the things that you need to make sure that you are bringing to the end whenever you finally defeat the dragon and want to start searching for end cities. Number one is obviously like the basic stuff like armor, pickaxes, swords, that sort of thing. But on top of that, make sure that your pickaxe has the Silk Touch enchantment to get the ender chest off of the ground. Also, make sure that you have wood with you or a ton of chests, because as you kill the shulkers, you'll probably want to use their shulker shells immediately to make the shulker boxes, which will hold your inventory, which will hold a whole bunch more inventory. So make sure you bring wood or chests with you. And then also make sure you bring food. I always forget this one. This is the tip that I always forget the most is food. Is because you're getting hit so often with the shulker projectiles, then you're going to take a lot of damage and you're going to need to refill your food supply. So make sure you bring more food than you would expect. Also, if this is your absolute first time heading into the end, I would also bring along with me some enchanted books, a Unbreaking 3 enchanted book and a Mending enchanted book, and then along with an anvil and enough levels to enchant your first pair of elytra that you find. You can also name it at that time too. It'll only cost 1 level whenever you name it as long as and enchant it at the same time. So your first elytra can be used right off the bat. Also, don't forget your rockets. You'll need rockets in order to power yourself through the end. Those are very simple with just gunpowder and a piece of paper in your crafting table, and then bam, you'll have a level 1 rocket, which in my opinion is the better one to use whenever you are using elytra. Level 3 or level 2, they just fire for far too long, and level 1 tends to be just great and is very efficient in my opinion. So make sure you bring rockets, mending, and unbreaking books, as well as an anvil to put those enchantments on your elytra when you get them. And finally, to round out what you should bring to the end on your trips, as I would say, ender pearls. A lot of times I will wait until I'm in the end to get them, but that'll be one of the first things that I get is to set up a little hidey hole. Remember that endermen are 3 blocks tall, so they will not be able to fit in a 2-block space. So this is normally the type of kill chamber that I will create is down here. Also, make sure you leave at least a full block so that they can't reach you, because if you're hanging out here and they're right there, they'll go ahead and hit you. So this is the type of kill chamber that I normally create. It has an opening that is 3 tall for the enderman to stand. It has an opening that is 2 tall for me to stand. I come out here. I take a look at an enderman that happens to be around, look him dead in the eye. Here, I can switch into survival, even though I'm like almost dead. He'll run at you because he noticed you looking. You can hide in your hidey hole, and then you can kill them. Obviously, you would have weapons, even though I don't. But you would kill them and then get the ender pearls. So do this before you really head in to the end, searching for end cities. I hope you enjoyed my compilation, my list of things that you should remember when heading to the end cities to find those elytra and shulkers and even the chests filled with tons and tons of loot. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a like. Also, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And also make sure you subscribe for future videos, tips, tricks, tutorials, and spotlights here on OMG Craft. See you next time. Bye!